Thanks for coming. So this is the second solo exhibition I had, and this is all hand-dyed silk, which I made into different forms, and it was called Public Displays of Attention, and everyone could come into the gallery and choose the piece to wear, which they decided matched their level of attention that they desired. And I sort of thought that people would just come in and wear one piece, and then people coming in and putting on like 6 pieces, and so I had people could have their photograph taken by a professional photographer, and then those photographs were sent out to people as postcards. And so people were having photos with other people and putting all these pieces on, and there was like no work left on the wall at some stages. So this is the exhibition in Melbourne. This piece is plastic. It's mostly dyed fabric. But I didn't realise it was at the exhibition in Melbourne.
So what year was that?
2011. Yeah. This is a beard, and it had silver. It was sterling silver, the parts that needed to be rigid. And so it had little hooks that you put on your ears, and it hung on the wall so that it was sort of just this triangular shape. So people would come in, and if the beard was being worn, everyone wanted the beard. But if the beard was on the wall, everyone was like, I don't know what that is. This is the Sydney show. So I took the show to Sydney, and I made a few extra pieces for the Sydney show. And it was a different photographer, so you can kind of see the difference in the pictures. But it was just so lovely. I don't know all these people, but I just love people got so excited and they're really engaged with the photo. And some people were afraid to have their photo taken. But then once they sort of got it taken, everyone just looked so good. This is another exhibition I had, the next one. It was called Guilty, G-I-L-T-Y, like guilt. And this was about preciousness and value, and so people came into the gallery and they looked like these sort of old gold works, and they were all gilt with 24 karat gold. And then, so there were 7 different pieces, looking like this on the circles. And then Mark opened the exhibition, and I only told him like half an hour before that all of the pieces were actually made of chocolate, and so everyone could eat all of the works. Yep. Oh, people got right into it. At first they were a little bit standoffish, and then they just got so excited, and there was one bead left at the end of the night. And I love the way that the people eating them and going for it put little marks of gold on the back and twisted the chains so that they were all out of shape. These chains are hand woven 18 karat gold.
That's certainly interactive.
And then it was just chains. So people came the next day and they were a bit disappointed, I think. It was just chains.
How long did the exhibition last? Just 2 days?
It was 2 weeks, I think.
2 weeks. So for the rest of the time, did you put out new work, or the rest of the time was just
there was pictures of what she was like, but that was the what happened at the opening. This is another piece. It's about this big, I should have broken it. And it hangs on the wall or it hangs on the body, so it can be a wall piece or a neck piece. And these are all individual pieces of sterling silver that I rolled out and drilled and then stitched onto silk. That's it. This is another exhibition that I had at Craft, and this is where I invited people to give me a piece of clothing with a story, and then I filmed the story as they told it, and then I traded that and the piece of clothing for something. So some people it was helping paint their house, or some succulents, some exotic succulents, which was this. This is Vicky's piece. So this was a silk top that she wore to a wedding. If you want to watch the stories, they're on YouTube. And then that's the piece that it got made into. So that's about this big. And I used all of the mass of the piece, so there was a transfer of form, not actually taking anything away. This was someone's ex-boyfriend's underpants that he had left at her house. And that was this piece. This is one of my friends went to Ghana, and while she was there someone died and they had a funeral, and this is the outfit that she wore to the funeral. Her story is really interesting. Hers is on there too, and that turned into this. This is sunscreen from another exhibition. So this is about Australia and what sunscreen means to us and how it's such an epitomal piece to the Australian environment that not everyone understands in other countries, because they don't understand we have this big ozone hole, and you sort of go out in the sun here and not only is it hot but it really burns you. And so this is the sunscreen pieces. That's one of them. And they're made from balsa wood interiors, and then the outside is stones from the beach. And so they're crushed and then they're put onto the piece. So the different colours are from different stones. And then they're divided and then taken back.
And then you polish it at the end.
Yeah, kind of like lapidary, so you take it back with the files and emery and then you polish it. That's a close-up. Because it's not fully crushed into like a powder, like a pigment, it's left with some of the stone in it so that you can see that stone within the piece. This is another exhibition I had. It's called Identity Fair. And so people came in, and then on the right-hand side there was a tent, and you could put your head inside the tent. And once you put your head inside, you were sort of wearing these big neck pieces, which were made of leather. I dyed some of the leather, but some of them I just used the natural leather colour. And then on the left were natural dyed wool pieces of the same animal. So there were 8 different animals, the Australian animals, sort of questioning what it is to be Australian and how it's such a difficult issue, and no one really, like, people sort of discuss it, but we're very touchy about discussing certain things. And so this was a way of sort of, people got given an animal. So this is them inside. That's a dingo. This is a Tasmanian devil. This is an echidna. This is Adrienne. That's a cockatoo. So these are leather. And so there was a game with this piece. So you could pay $10, and then you get to pick out one of the balls, and on the balls is a number which correlated either to the woolen pieces on the wall or a resin piece of the different animals. So people got given an animal and they could relate to that in whichever way they like. Maybe they found positive things within themselves which related to that, or they found negative things which they were like, I'm not like this. But it was really interesting. People got quite competitive about getting the wool ones.
So I $50 on that game.
Did you? I think some people spent like quite a bit of money, and then like everyone else kept getting wool ones around them, and they were like, oh, but like the little ones, I kind of like the little ones because you can wear them a lot better. Yeah. But the bigger things, it's amazing how people really wanted those big things. This is Nick. He really liked his koala. He really felt that he related to it a lot. They're the little ones. These are the resin ones, yeah. And then there was this piece, which was a kangaroo head, also made of leather. And this was a meditative space so that people could go and think about the exhibition and what the pieces meant to them, and maybe they meant nothing. Maybe they just wanted to hang out in the dark for a bit, smell some leather. It was on a drawstring so that people could, if you're a different height, you could still get in there. So last year, Chloe and I ran a festival, if you could use the word, a trail of contemporary jewellery in Melbourne. And so there was 57 events in September for a week. And this is one of the media shots. I had an exhibition in it. It was called Oaxaca Experiencia. And that's, Oaxaca's a place in Mexico that I went and did a residency. And so there's a few different aspects to it, but this is filigree, so like this, but it's based on tin work techniques, it's not filigree techniques. So it's actually within, they have a lot of tin work and they make all these tin pieces that are sort of little, almost like votives, and then they make sort of different things for commercial purposes, like wine bottles for celebrations, and they paint them bright colours. But this is, they also have the filigree technique from the Spanish coming over. And so this is sort of mixing those two things together. And this twirls. So it's a table set on its side on a barrel, and you can twirl it back and forwards to see the different pieces. Because in Mexico, they sort of used things that were there, and so you'd go and someone would be saving a parking space with a stool with a bit of wood on it, or like a bit of a fabric tied to something. And so this was just sort of using sort of what was there, different things around to make this display for these works. That's one of them. In Mexico there was different walls, like all of the walls were, a lot of them were either sort of mud bricks with the adobe on them, and then they painted them all bright colours. And so these are some of the walls that I saw in Mexico, remade into brooches.
What are they made out of?
These are Cantera stone, so it's a Mexican stone. I actually made them all from Cantera stone, even though these ones would have been mud brick. And so these are, it has graffiti, it has numbers, and like these ones, people would write political slogans on the walls in the night terms, and then the government would come along and just paint over them during the day. And so all the buildings were different colours, but they would only use one paint. So you go along and there's just all these different blocks of this one colour on different buildings. And then these are the more traditional buildings where they have sort of the rich buildings, which are made out of the actual Cantera stone. So it's the green stone here. And with those buildings, if they were damaged or falling apart, they would remake them. But if they were missing bits of them, they'd just put bricks in. And so these are the fill-in bricks in the walls. And usually those buildings weren't graffitied, but very occasionally they were. At the exhibition, I had these pieces, which were kind of like a piñata. And so people could get one, and then you pull the bottom, and a party popper comes out the top, and then a neck piece falls out the bottom. Because when I was there, the first night I was sleeping, and I wondered what all this noise was. I was like, is that gunfire? I mean, people told me it was dangerous, but I didn't think it was really that dangerous here. But it was fireworks. People just let off fireworks all the time, during the day, during the night, just fireworks constantly. And so that's what these pieces are. And then the pieces which came inside were the Cantera stone again, crushed and taken back, and they spelt out Oaxaca. In Mexico they have alebrijes, which are carved, in Oaxaca they're carved wooden forms, which are painted bright colours. And they also have a festival which is, they sort of do a lot of different dances there. And so they have the dance of this, the dance of that, and there was the dance of the torito, which is a little bull. And so I just got really obsessed with these little bulls, and I started painting them all, and I made all these little paintings, and I just couldn't get them out of my head, and I kept making them and making them. And so I ended up making all these carved wooden pieces of these torritos. And then I also made all these embroidered pieces of the torritos. And so there's just so many torritos. This is quite a big one. These ones were about this big. And then here are some of the smaller ones from the exhibition. Oh, that's a big one. And that's it.